Welcome. My name is Dontrell West. I'm a student at Cal Poly Pomona, and I'm here with Shaun Kelly, the owner of Raw Technique Studios. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man.
It's good. It's good. So you already know, why you're here and the rundown and everything.
hmm
So let's just start off by giving a little background for you. Who are
hmm
you and what do you do?
I'm a mixing engineer. Mostly work on hip hop music. Every now and then I'll do some like singer songwriter type stuff or like a little bit of pop music. But I started out actually doing guitar as my main major. When I first got to Cal Poly, I was doing guitar as my major, and then I took I think it was like the recording class or something like that, where I was like, okay, this is more interesting. So I think I'm gonna actually go with this, and decided I want to do my own studio. So right after graduating from Cal Poly, I started Raw Technique Studios. I started a little bit before graduating, but um, it kind of like started picking up right after graduation, recording people out of the house, and then decided I don't want people in my house anymore. So I started doing online mixing, and that's it. So that's where I am today.
All right, cool, cool. So one of the first questions. So people send in their questions. Me and my classmates, we polled people, different classmates or students at the school, and also some other people, and they sent in their questions about what they wanted to ask you specifically.
Okay.
So one of the first questions is, why and how did you start your YouTube channel?
So the YouTube channel was kind of like, I like to show people, like teaching things is like one of my favorite things to do. And I used to teach guitar lessons before I got into the like mixing side of things. So once I got into it, I just naturally wanted to show people what I was learning. So every time I learned something new, I was like, okay, I'm getting used to it. I like how this sounds. Let me share it. So that's how I started the YouTube channel. I just wanted to share what I was learning along the way, and that's it.
Okay, and for those who are watching, that's actually how I found Sean, was his
Mm.
YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And I reached out to him a couple years ago, and that's how we became acquainted in the first place.
Yeah.
So you kind of already touched on it, but what really inspired you to venture out independently instead of, working with a studio or, trying to do something like that?
Uh, I just didn't want to do, like, I did an internship with Dberg Studios when I was at Cal Poly, because you have to do the internship. And at first I was like, oh man, like I don't even want to do an internship. I just want to do my own thing. And then when I interned for him, I was like, oh dude, this is awesome. I learned so much from him. And then I don't know, if you go with like the big studios, I feel like a lot of the time you end up just picking up their trash and getting coffee and stuff like that. And I was like, I am not gonna do that. I just want to go straight into it. So yeah, I learned so much in that first internship that I was like, I could do this on my own. And I just gained so much confidence from seeing that, because at the time he was in a garage in Pomona, but he was like doing a really great, like his music sounded, or all his mixes, his recordings, everything sounded great, and the clients he was getting were like pretty decent clients. So I was like, man, this is cool. And then he ended up in Burbank, huge studio, had like J. Cole and all these like big artists come through. And I was like, see, you could do it from your garage and then work your way out if you want to, or you could just, like me, honestly, I don't really want to do the whole like recording studio and like try to get big artist type thing. I'm perfectly content with being at home in my garage that I turned into a studio and making my living chilling here at home, not having to worry about it. So I think it's a convenience thing. It's like, I didn't want to go drive to a studio. I like being at home, working when I want, and that's it. So.
And you've been that way since you started the.
Yeah. I started recording here. It was in a bedroom in the house. Was it 2012, 2013, and then built that up. And I moved out into Upland, did a commercial space, built a whole studio there. And then I was like, you know what? Why am I spending money on like a monthly, like, or paying rent pretty much for the space when I could just do it in my garage at home? So I came here and then redid the whole garage into a studio.
Nice.
Yeah.
Let's see. So what are the day-to-day functions of your job, being an audio engineer and a YouTube content creator?
Uh, if I'm consistent with YouTube, then I'm doing more like filming the videos and editing the videos and then posting them. Email marketing is part of it. So I have an email list where I collect people's emails by giving them something for free. And then whenever I have a new YouTube video, I'll shoot it out to them. I have a blog on my website that I post those YouTube videos to as well. So I have to get that set up. and then there's mixing and revisions and emails. Most days it's just emails, revisions, and mixing. It's just nonstop throughout the day. So it just depends on when stuff comes in, and the more work I have, then I work more that day. If I don't have anything for a day, or I schedule a day off, then I'll just not do anything that day. So it just depends.
Okay, so this isn't one of the questions, but do you do like, are you working like every day, or do you give yourself weekends?
I try to give myself weekends off, but every now and then, like one of the artists I work with is Sick World, and he'll be like, "Hey man, I just sent you over a song. Can you do it today?" And like I'll charge a rush fee, so he'll pay extra to get it done that day. So if that happens, then I'm working on a Saturday or a Sunday. It doesn't matter. Like I want that extra money, so I'm gonna do it that day. So yeah, so things like that. But other than that, I'll try to schedule it around. I try to give myself Sundays off, but it's, I don't know, sometimes.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. So one of the questions was, do you have any help or collaborators with others, or do you collaborate with others when you create content for your YouTube channel?
For my YouTube channel, it just depends on what I'm doing. Like my Raw Fix My Mix series that I do, I'll have artists come on, and then we'll do a one-on-one, we'll talk about it. So that, I guess, is like a collaboration for the content. So I'm working with like different artists on every episode. But as far as like teaching the stuff, it's usually just me, whatever I felt like showing that I've learned or that I've been getting questions about. Not too much collaborate. I do some stuff with like companies, like DistroKid will reach out and they'll be like, "Hey, can you make a video for us?" And I'll do that. I've had a couple plugin companies reach out, like Waves. They give me a percentage for anything that people buy through my link. So they're like, "Hey, make a video about this new plugin that we're going to be releasing in like a week or two, and tell them to click your link and you'll get a percentage of every sale," type thing. So those type of collaborations happen every now and then, but mostly just my own stuff.
Okay, so you're running everything, the music stuff and all of the social media,
Yeah.
YouTube.
Oh yeah. I don't work with anybody for any of that stuff. Yeah.
Crazy, man.
It's crazy when I'm consistent, but right now, like, I don't post as consistent, so it's like pretty chill.
Yeah, so actually, since I've been following you, we're kind of an offshoot of this question. I kind of remember, I don't remember if it was like a year ago or maybe 2 years ago, but I remember there was a point where like you weren't really posting a whole lot of stuff to your Instagram, and then it just kind of switched and you were just posting all the time. Like, what really led to that?
I read a Gary Vee book, and then
Oh, yeah?
yeah, so I read his book, and then I was like, all right, I'm gonna try this for a year. So for a year straight, I was just like nonstop, every day posting on Instagram, at least once a day, and it grew the following like crazy. I worked with, I forget, Mixing Tips was the Instagram account, and Adam Smith, I think, was his Instagram account. They both had like large followings, and I reached out to them. I was like, "Hey, do you want to do like a post trade? I'll share one of your posts if you share one of mine," and do that type of thing. And they were down, and that just like made my followers go up like crazy. And then being consistent, people stuck around. And then now that I'm not as consistent, I lost a little bit of those followers.
Yeah.
But I'm like, that's fine with me. Like, I still have a good following, and if people actually want to see my stuff, then they'll wait until I post it. So that's how I'm going about it right now. Plus, I just had a baby, so I'm focused on that more than posting every day.
Yeah. Did that like uptick for you? Did it help the business too?
The everyday posting, it's more it helped grow the following on Instagram, but did it lead to any like sales of my courses or more mixing clients? Maybe like a couple, but not enough to be a difference. Like I still make just about the same every single month before and after that year. So yeah.
All right, cool. So let's see. As an online audio engineer, what skills would you say are necessary to create engaging content?
I guess just giving people what they want. So like the videos that got me the most views, like I have a couple videos that have over 1 million views on YouTube, and that's because they're very, I don't know, it's very like simple, easy to understand, and it like shows the whole picture. So it's not like, oh, and that's it, that's part of it, but if you do this, then you get, like, it's just very basic and simple. So that's how I did it. It was like setting up a home studio, and I noticed all the videos I watched setting up a home studio, they never showed like, okay, what wire gets plugged in or what cable gets plugged in. Is it a TRS? Is it XLR? Is it like, you would still have questions after watching it. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna do one where it's every single step, like what plugs into what and how does it route and what's an audio interface, why do you need it, and so like things like that. So very detailed was the way to get a lot of people like engaged. And then my other one was how to mix rap vocals like a pro, and like that was when I was just starting out, so I'm definitely not a pro, but I was like, well, this is how it's like a catchy title, and then the content, it sounded good. It was a good sounding mix. Looking back at the video, I would have done a couple things different, but it's great content, and I'm just going to leave it there. It makes me money on YouTube ads every single month, and it brings in people like, oh, I saw you on YouTube. Can you mix my stuff? Like, I still don't do any advertising for my mixing service at all. Like, I haven't. Yeah, it's all word of mouth, or they find me through YouTube. So that's it.
Oh man, yeah, and I can speak to that because, like I said, when I came across your videos, I was just starting to use Pro Tools, and I was like, oh man, I got to learn a whole new DAW. Like, let me go ahead and look for some tutorials. And I was looking up a lot of people, and I was looking at like Modern Mixing, Recording Revolution, your videos, a whole lot of other people, and I really liked yours, and I like Recording Revolution because y'all were really you were really detailed, just like you said. And a lot of my issues with a lot of other people's videos where they would tell you to do something, but they wouldn't explain like what it was doing,
right.
Thing like that. So that's why I liked yours, and I ended up buying like some of your courses and things like that.
Nice.
Yeah. So what equipment do you use when you create your YouTube videos? A lot of YouTube questions.
For my screen recording software, it's a ScreenFlow. It's only for Mac, so if you're not on Mac, then OBS I think is the other version. And then I use my AKG C214, which I'm talking in right now. Got my pop filter here. I'm using an Apollo Twin to record my voice. And then I also have a external preamp. It's just this cheap Tube MP external preamp that I've run through as well. But it's not necessary. I just happen to have it set up. I think that's it. And then I use Pro Tools to show what I'm doing inside of there, but that's about it.
Yeah. Do you usually work in the box, or do you have like outboard gear too?
I have some outboard saturation right here, but I very rarely use it. It's more of like the company sent it to me. It's DIY recording equipment, and it's like a build. So I had to like solder the equipment together and build it, and then I made a video about it on my YouTube channel. I like it for like sound design for 808s. It gives you like this really fat, distorted, or like saturated sound depending on how hard you hit it. But I very rarely use outboard gear. It's like almost always in the box, everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. So do you have any advice for new entrepreneurs looking to start their own mixing service?
Build up a great portfolio, and don't be afraid to do free work until you get a solid portfolio to pitch to people, because that's how I got started. It was just, I would record people, mix it, and I was doing a couple of them were free. I remember one was, the artist was acapella. She was like a female hip hop artist. She came over, recorded, mixed, mastered her song for free. And then maybe 2 weeks later, I got people hitting me up like, oh, like you offer recording, you offer mixing, and it just built from there. So it's like, build up that portfolio. If you have to do free work for somebody, it could lead to paid work from a bunch of other people from word of mouth if it sounds good. So if you're doing just online though, then I would also reach out to people. Like there's this guy, Zach X from London. I reached out to him, did his song for free, posted it on my YouTube channel. So I get the content and I get the song for my portfolio. And then people could see it in the YouTube video, hear it on my website where my portfolio is. And then if they like it, they could go to me for mixing. So that's the number one thing, build that portfolio up.
Yeah. All right. So what about for like starting out a YouTube channel? I know YouTube was kind of different, a couple back when you started than it
Right.
is now. A lot more monetization and things like that. But what about if somebody wants to start a YouTube channel today?
Uh, just make stuff that's, I guess, it's hard because I feel like my old stuff caught on a lot better than my new stuff does. So YouTube definitely has changed over the years, but I guess making stuff that's unique to you, which is hard to do because like there's so much stuff out there. But I don't know. I be consistent because that's when I was consistent. It was a huge growth. That's what started my business. Started posting regularly. Started posting stuff that's like different to where like I would be like home studio builds and then mixing and then stuff like that. Because if you're gonna just post like a tip like, oh, how to do parallel compression, there's like 50 different videos out there how to do parallel compression. So you're competing with a lot. But if you're like how to do a home studio build and like at my time it was like the detailed connecting of what wires go here and like that was unique, so that's why it stood out. So trying to find something that people haven't really done much of. So I guess that's the number one thing to look for.
Okay. So you've been working pretty much from home since you started your business.
Mm-hmm.
But this next question is, how has the pandemic affected you and your work at all, if at all?
Yeah. At first I was worried. I was like, oh man, people aren't going to be able to afford mixing. Like this is it. And then after like the first like month or two, I always have a bad month every year. And I think that first month was like starting to look like a bad one, but then it just picked up. And it was before the stimulus checks got mailed out. So I know it wasn't that, but yeah, I don't know. It's just like, it didn't really affect it at all. I thought it would, but ended up not really affecting it at all. And I've had my same income every month since.
Okay, that's good. It was pretty stable.
Yeah.
So let's see. What has been the most challenging aspect of your line of work?
The struggle of like being okay with not knowing how much you're going to make every month because my income varies by like $2,000 through, like it could be down $2,000 or up $2,000 depending on the month, just how things happen to go. Like because I don't do advertising for my service, it's very like, if somebody happens to make new music that is a past client, then there's a mix. Or if somebody happens to find me on YouTube or Instagram and then they come through, then there's a mix. But it surprisingly has been like semi-steady, but there is that like variance. So also it's because I sell courses. So my courses, if I just launch a course, that first like 2 months, I'll make more. But if the course is old and people have already bought it and nobody's really seen or heard about it for a while, then I won't be selling as many courses and it's just mixing work. And then like if an album comes in, like I've had it to where I was having a bad month and then an album for like $1,000 came in and I'm like, oh, now it's a decent month. So it's very up and down. So I'm like, should I just get a full-time job and have steady income? And I'm like, nah, I'll just do it.
All right. What would you say was a big turning point for your career, and how did that happen?
I would say it's those the YouTube videos that took off. Like if that never happened, then I don't think my like anything would have happened really. Like I would have been doing just the recording out of the house and building it up like that, which you could do because like I said, when I interned for D-Berg Studios, that's what he was doing. Like he was recording and mixing and everything out of the house, built up, started working with bigger clients, and then he ended up working with those huge names. So you could go that route and never post a YouTube video. But I like the whole online thing, and I'm glad that YouTube worked out and it's kept me steady ever since. So it's just finding something like that to turn it around. For me, it was YouTube, but it could, if I wanted to, I guess I could have just recorded and did word of mouth and built up as well. So.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Somebody want to know what was the most exciting or interesting audio project you worked on?
Mm. When you sent that question, I read it. I was like, I don't really have a specific one that I could think of because I'll get excited for something. I'm like, oh man, this is gonna be the best song ever that I mixed, and then 2 months later, I'm like, oh man, this is gonna be the best song ever that I mixed. So it's like I get excited for a lot of the songs I work on. So like when I work with Kid Swami, I think his songs are super cool. Like I really like working with his stuff. When I work with Sick World, like he has a huge following, so every time I work on it, I'm like, this is gonna be listened to by like a lot of people, and so that's on my mind. I'm like, I want this to sound good, and then I don't know. It's just I get excited for a lot of songs, so there's not one specific one.
All right. It sounds like you get a lot of repeat customers, like people keep coming back to you.
Yeah. Like right now, Sick World's like my most consistent because he just always has music going, and yeah, so he's like, I don't know, maybe every week, sometimes a couple songs in a week, sometimes he'll take a little break and wait a couple weeks, but it's pretty consistent with him. Kid Swami, it's usually pretty consistent as well, but a lot of people will like do an album maybe, and then a year from now they'll do another album with me, like just stuff like that. It just depends on the artist's schedule, but yeah, it's a lot of repeat customers.
Nice. So of course, with the pandemic and everything, a lot of people were wondering about networking and everything like that. So with your line of work, where networking pretty much, I don't know, always is online, it probably like works out more for you. So the question was, how do you recommend students network right now?
Instagram is somewhere where I talk with a lot of people, and sometimes it'll lead to work. Sometimes it's just like it develops into like a friendship. Like it depends on who you're talking to, what the whole thing is. And with networking, I feel like a lot of people try to force getting the result that they want out of it. But if you go in like being like more of the like, oh, how can I help this person, you're eventually gonna get something out of it in the long run. So I think that's the best way to go about it. So whether it's Instagram's probably like the number one spot that I talk to people. Every now and then email, but that's usually like people just reaching out for like a business reason, not like to network specifically. So yeah, just talking to people, try to see what you could give to them to make their business or life easier, and that's the best way to go into it. Because like there's DK Studios, he reached out to me, and we ended up doing like a couple of his podcasts on his thing, and it built up, and he's helping me like check out my courses and do reviews on it. And he's just got nominated for the Forbes 30 under 30 list, so it's like, yeah, he's doing great, and he's just super cool dude, and reached out and was like super nice, and we've gone back and forth on things, and stuff like that is, I think, the number one thing is just try to be a good person and help the other people out, and that's about it. But also, just to throw in there, some people will take advantage of that, and they'll be like, hey bro, I'll give you a credit if you mix this whole album for free, and they have like 5 followers, and it's like, don't fall for that, because you're gonna waste your time unless you're gonna like use it for your portfolio. So I think there's maybe try like reaching out to people either at your same level or a little bit above, so you could always be growing and growing, instead of like just going for people who are just trying to use you for free services. Because I've had a couple of those in the past that they'd never pay for something, but they're like, oh yeah, just like for your portfolio, and it's like when somebody's telling you it's for your own good, then it's usually just for them to get what they want. So just watch out for that.
Okay, so which actually that was a really good piece of advice. But the next question is, what's a piece of advice you've gotten that you would like to pass along to up and comers?
I'm trying to think. Well, if it's like the business side of things, I would say like if you're trying to build an online business to like have an email list and have that to be able to like reach out to, because you never know, like odds are Instagram and Facebook are going to be around for a while, but if they ever went out, then you don't have an email list to fall back on, then you just lost everything because you relied on social media to keep you going. So I have an email list, and I wish I would have started it earlier. So that would be the advice, is build up owning your own, like your clients' emails from the get-go, or even if they're not your clients. Like I give out, I can't think of the name of it right now, but it's like where you give out a free piece of content and they give you their email in exchange. So I've done that multiple times with several different things, a lead magnet. And so I'll do that, get their emails, and then be able to send out those like, hey, 50% off this course today only. And then you could get a sale here and there from that. So it's so much better than relying on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube to sell stuff. I think that's something I've learned over the years, is selling on social media is a lot harder than selling to an email list. So instead, like, people go to YouTube for free stuff usually. Like they don't necessarily want to buy something, they want to watch something for free. And then if you could give them that free value and then offer a free lead magnet, they pick that up, they get on your email list, and then eventually they're like, oh, you know what? Like, I want to learn more about this. And then they're more comfortable with you, and then they want to purchase. So that's something I think is better. Recording Revolution, you never see him like, hey, buy my course in his YouTube videos. He never says that. It's always, hey, check out my free guide to blah, 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 blah. And then he'll have you on his email list, and then he'll start selling to you. So now that you're more comfortable. So I think that's the biggest thing. If you want an online business, is emails, collect those emails.
Dope, man.
Yeah.
Advice. So I know you were working on your last course, the Hip Hop Audio School, for a while.
Yeah.
Do you have any other projects you're probably working on or thinking about doing, or are you kind of just taking it easy?
Yeah, like that was it took forever I think it was like a year process of putting that course together. And then the last like 2 months, my daughter was about to be born, and I was like, I need this to be done before she's born because I will not have time. So I, for like the last 2 months straight, was just like cranking out videos and editing and posting and getting the website ready to have it all hosted. And it was just like a lot of work. But now I'm just like, that's it. Like that was it's recording, setting up a studio, mixing, mastering, getting your music out there, like all that stuff, all in one course. So like I don't want to make more courses necessarily. I just want, I've been building up to this course for a long time, since I've started. Like I always had those how to mix and master with stock plugins in Pro Tools. Like that was my first course that I sold. And then how to mix with third-party plugins and this and that. And then I kept doing like different little things, how to mix to 2-track beats and so on and so on. And then now I'm like, you know what? I just need this huge course with everything in one, and then I could add to that over time. So it's more expensive, but it has it's over 70 videos compared to my old courses would be like 12 videos, 14 videos. This is like, I think it's probably close to 80 videos now. And then I still have more I have to add. I'm just waiting for a couple things to work out, and then I can start adding those videos. But it's just, I don't want to make more little courses. So I think the only course I'll make, or I plan on making in the future, is how, like, because I get a lot of questions like, oh, how did you build up your business? How would you do this and that? Like the business side of things. I might do a business version course, but later on when I feel more comfortable with like putting that together. Right now it's like the Hip Hop Audio School is like the go-to. That's my course. I don't plan on ever building anything else. So.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure since we both, like, I'm at Pomona right now. You graduated from Pomona, same major, music industry studies.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure a lot of people are wondering, like, do you feel like a lot of what you learned over the course of getting your degree and your internship helped you get to where you are today, as far as like starting your business and things like that?
The internship 100% was super, super valuable. Like seeing Derek work in the studio with artists and how that all worked out. Like I would be sitting there with like my notepad reading like his plugin settings and writing them down. I'm like, all right, so he did this attack on the compressor, he did this EQ dip at this frequency, like just trying to learn like everything that he's doing, because I knew he was on the right track of like doing great things. So I was like, all right, this guy got it. And so that's something that I think was super, super valuable, because what I learned from him is what I applied to my own business and what I started putting on YouTube, because I was like, oh, I learned something new, like here's how to mix. And then it just worked out for me in my career and like as a mixer and on YouTube, making content. So that was huge. And then at Cal Poly itself, I made a lot of like connections. I think that's something that college offers that you can't get from not going to college. So networking right now with your classmates is probably going to be one of the best things, because you guys are all in the music department, and some of the people are going to be like a guitarist that plays jazz, and then you have a vocalist that could do this. So like if you're an engineer and you need artists for something, then they're all right there. So it's like make friends, because they're all going to be useful and you could help them out in the like future as well. So it's like a very mutual like benefit for everybody in that department. So and then the professors, like that is something, you have access to these people who've done what you want to do. So ask them, go to their office hours, or I guess now virtual office hours, just like learn from them. Like was it Arthur Weiner, right?
Yeah, Weiner, yeah.
He was a mastering engineer at Sony. Like he knows his stuff. Like, so ask him questions about doing all that stuff. And like he has really good knowledge about compression. And that's something where when I was trying to learn compression, like I was like, okay, I know he mentioned stacking compressors. So I tried to like stack my compressor, but like, is this how it is? He was like, oh, kinda. So it's like learning those next steps from these people who've done everything is huge, like worth of value. So yeah, that type of stuff. As far as like the classes themselves and like the content, those can be useful. There's so much information online on YouTube now that it's like you could learn a lot of things everywhere. So I would say the networking and stuff like that would be number one from college. Yeah.
All right, so last question I got for you is, how can people get in contact with you?
Instagram is at Raw Tech Studios, or email rawtechniquestudios@gmail.com. And those are the two places I respond to the most.
Okay, and then they can find all your content on YouTube.
Oh yeah.
Your personal website.
Yeah. rawtechniquestudios.com, or just search Raw Technique Studios on YouTube.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
All right, Shaun, I appreciate you taking this time to have the interview with me, man.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.